comedies don't often have horror elements, but horror movies often have comedy elements. So it's the one genre where we can kind of play in all these different sandboxes. And I think that makes scary movies more unpredictable and ultimately more enjoyable for the audience.
Thanks for terrifying me. That was so fun.
I'm happy to scare you.
I walked in and I was like, I don't see chairs set up, and they're all, he's in the bathroom. I was like, I don't think he's really in the bathroom. I don't trust you.
Yeah. No, when they pitched us that idea, I was like, ooh, this is going to be fun. I can't wait to see the final result.
It was so fun. I was like, I know what this movie's about. It's about Halloween decorations coming to life. I feel like these are going to, at the very least, I figured I'd be talking to you and they would come to life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I heard it was a big success, and I can't wait to see it when they cut it together.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. It's going to be so fun. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today, for real this time. I appreciate it.
That's how you know it's for real, because it's on Zoom.
Right, exactly. I know. Like nothing can jump out and scare me now. I hope. Fingers crossed. But I love the concept of this movie. I find it so fun. The jump scares. That's one of my favorite things about being scared, is just the jump scares. Can you talk about including like so many in this movie?
Listen, I'm glad we got you. You never really know if they're going to land. I mean, we try to show the movie to, like when I finish my cut, I just show it to the assistant editors and their significant others. And then I show it to a larger group of friends and family. And then we do test screenings with audiences. For the first time on this project, we actually did at-home test screenings where like hundreds of people are watching the movie and we can watch them on their computer camera while they're watching it, which is
that's cool.
Real. And so you try to figure out where the jump scares are landing and how you can change them and attenuate the moment. So it ultimately, you just don't know until you get the feedback. And so it's very satisfying for me to hear that we got you so many times.
Yeah, it's the loud stuff and the stuff popping out. It's like, but I'd love to know if there were any of these on set, because I feel like you have the potential to be scaring a lot of people with something like this going on. Did you guys kind of say professional, or were people scaring each other?
I mean, it was a fun set because Marlon, sets the tone and he does that really well. And then we had great comedians from Rob Riggle to Lauren Lapkus to John Michael Higgins. Kelly Rowland and Priya Ferguson are such lovely souls and so much fun to be around. So, I mean, I don't know if we were like scaring each other. People definitely got a little freaked out. The clowns were freaky. The Jack effigy, I think when people first saw that, were a little bit like, well, that's freaky looking, because he kind of looked like a big baby walking around with that giant head. But very quickly, you just get down to business and you have to execute the scene. And it's hard work. It's technical work. And we had a great team. So I think you kind of get used to some of the imagery while you're working on the scene, to be completely honest.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's a lot of like chases and stunt work type things. Did everyone kind of do their own stunts, or did some people have stunt people come in?
We had a lot of stunt players on the movie, but people also did a lot of their own physicality, created a lot of their own physicality. Marlon is a really physical performer. We just use all the tools that are available to modern filmmaking. And I've made a few action movies. I have a stunt team I usually work with. Alan D'Antoni was my stunt coordinator on Fantasy Island, and he worked on Truth or Dare. He worked on True Memoirs. So I have a real great shorthand with him. So we just used every trick in the book.
Now, what was it about The Curse of Bridge Hollow that made you be like, yeah, I really want to work on this film?
Well, I'd wanted to work with Marlon for a while. We'd had a general meeting, and we have very similar sensibilities, and that we like to work in different genres and play in sort of genre mashups, as I call them. Look, Netflix is the biggest show in town. Every filmmaker wants to be working with them. And they sent me this script. And as a writer-director, I often write or rewrite my own projects. And the premise was there, the characters were there. I needed a little bit of tweaking, but by and large, I felt it was already working. So I was excited to just jump in and start prepping, because prep was intense, because creating all these monsters was the biggest challenge of the movie. It's one thing to write, clown or zombie, but like, well, what does that clown look like? What does that zombie look like? How are we making it uniquely our own? That was the biggest challenge of the film.
Yeah. So like, how much of that was actually real people in costumes. I feel like the majority of it has to be, right? Like there was that little cat thing walking. That was
I didn't want to make a purely VFX based film. I wanted the monsters to have reality and weight to them, because they were based on real things that were coming to life. But I often said, and, I'm not sure we completely executed this. I said, I also didn't want to make a movie about a bunch of guys just walking around in suits. So we, the flaming red eyes, those are VFX. The clowns have animatronic heads. We're always trying to change the silhouettes of different creatures. Like that Grim Reaper is actually a giant puppet designed by the Jim Henson Company. Instead of hiring one creature house, I actually hired 4 because I wanted everything to have a different look and feel. And there was just too much work for one creature house. I mean, we had everyone from the Jim Henson Company to Spectral Motion, which does all of Guillermo del Toro's movies. Like we had a lot of incredible talent. And I just wanted every monster to have some practical component, but then we would augment it with CG.
Yeah, well, you pulled it off because it looks very realistic. So, which makes me more scared of Halloween decorations, I've got to admit, especially after that little stunt. Going to Spirit Halloween will be very different for me this year. I don't think I can do it.
Might be looking over your shoulder.
Yes, everything's going to be like, it's going to come to life. But speaking of that, is there anything that like scared you growing up, maybe that surrounded Halloween, certain decorations or certain characters?
Clowns, for sure. Clowns are terrifying. After I saw Poltergeist and that clown like attack the kid, I mean, they freaked me out for a long time. I don't like clowns. It's not really evident in the film, but we had like a monster tree in the horde. That's what I call the monster army. Mm-hmm. Also, Poltergeist, there was a tree that ate the kid. Poltergeist, just in general, kind of messed me up.
I don't think you're alone on that one. That would be one of those ones that is scary. What do you think is so fun about being scared? Because I think a lot of people get scared and then they laugh and it's fun. And that's what is evident in this movie too. And that's what I think makes this movie so fun. So why do you think being scared is kind of fun?
It's a release. It's a reminder of all these feelings that we experience in our lives, right? Sort of tension and release, and it gets your adrenaline pumping, and all those primal chemicals in your brain are moving and swirling. So you kind of get to, it's why we love roller coasters, right? Like you get to have this experience, but you also know at the same time that you're not in any real jeopardy. And so I think that's why it always works. And also, honestly, I think scary movies, I was talking to someone else about this, allow filmmakers to tap into all different genres. Like action movies don't have horror elements usually, but horror movies can have action elements. Comedies don't often have horror elements, but horror movies often have comedy elements. So it's the one genre where we can kind of play in all these different sandboxes. And I think that makes scary movies more unpredictable and ultimately more enjoyable for the audience.
I agree. And then final question, I'd love to know, because this is something that like I know I can sit down and watch with my kids, but I'll enjoy it too. So can you just talk about the importance of creating something that families can enjoy together and parents won't be, like checking their phone and bored?
Those are the only kind of movies I want to make. Those are the movies I loved as a kid. Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, Star Wars. That's to me, it's what it's all about. It's about a communal experience. And, certainly when we were growing up, we would have that almost exclusively in the theater. But thanks to companies like Netflix, you can now have that at home and have almost pretty much from a technical standpoint, sometimes an even better viewing experience than you would have in the theater. So then when you have a movie that's designed for a family, then you can really have that communal experience at home with your family. You can all come together and sit and watch the film. And I think as film consumption evolves, and it has to, that's the way we're going to kind of keep this feeling of, gathering around a campfire and being told a story together alive by making movies like that where everyone in the house can sit down and enjoy them together.
Thank you again for taking the time to talk with me. And I thought the movie was so much fun. It's definitely going to be a movie that we add to watch every Halloween to our routine, because it was a lot of fun.
That makes me so happy. You made my day. Thank you, Tessa.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for talking to me today and not scaring me today. I appreciate it.
Today we played it straight.
Yes. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.